is my pleasure to welcome our presenters online, our key partners, and specifically our online participants. And I understand our participants are drawn from various sectors across Barbados: manufacturing, retail and distribution, logistics, tourism, education and research, banking and finance are some of the sectors I understand are represented online. And we want to really thank you for joining us this morning. I am Misha Lobban-Clarke, and I'm the Executive Director for the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And it's my pleasure to welcome you today to our sensitization webinar on doing business within the Panama market. Now, this webinar is being hosted as part of a trade mission, a trade and business mission, which is being led by the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry in collaboration with some of our key partners, Panama, the Barbados Ministry of Foreign Affairs based in Panama, Invest Barbados, Export Barbados, and the Barbados Tourism and Marketing, Inc. The trade and business mission from Barbados to Panama is scheduled for October 16th to the 21st, and we are looking forward to your participation. Now, to prepare you for that mission, we have decided to host this webinar. The trade mission certainly represents a significant part of the strategic objectives of the Barbados Chamber to build lasting and mutually beneficial partnerships that drives business growth for Barbadian companies, but more importantly, contribute to the broader economic development of Barbados. And so we thank you for joining us this morning as together we embark on a journey to foster greater bilateral trade relations and to strengthen economic and cultural linkages between Barbados and Panama. Now, interestingly, as of 2022, bilateral trade between Barbados and Panama grew by 12.3%. And I think this demonstrates the ever-increasing business opportunities that exist and are being forged between both countries. So if you ask, so why Panama? Why is the Chamber and its partners focusing on Panama? You will hear more in detail, but I'll tell you briefly. Panama is a major commercial hub in the region. It is a strategic gateway to Central and South America, and with its well-established logistics, infrastructure, and favorable business environment, the country offers immense potential for Barbadian businesses seeking to expand into new markets, not just Panama, but Central and South America. So Panama boasts a rapidly expanding economy. It serves as a pivotal trade and logistics powerhouse because of the Panama Canal, which positions that country as one of the most important trade routes in the world. Now, I kind of did a research and pulled out an interesting fact to share, that Barbados' historical ties to Panama dates back to the late 19th and early 20th century, with the migration of over 45,000 Barbadian workers to build the Panama Canal and the railway. Now, I've visited firsthand the Panama Canal and the railway, and it is impressive. Now, according to historians, Barbados is the single largest source of workers to build the Panama Canal, which means that we can safely assume, Stephanie and others, that the Panama Canal contributed, the Barbados not only contributed to building this, the Panama Canal, but left an impact in terms of the cultural, social development of Panama. Now, for us, we're saying that in addition to recognizing as a chamber that it's a major commercial gateway, that it is an open economy that has a business-friendly environment, we know that it offers tremendous opportunity and opportunities for trade and investment for businesses locally, and we want to facilitate that through this upcoming trade mission. So what is the focus of this trade mission? What we're trying to do is certainly to help you to in terms of identifying linkages in key sectors of mutual interest, and you'll hear more about that in the webinar. We certainly want to help our local enterprises grow their footprint in the Panama's dynamic market by facilitating business-to-business meetings, which we will facilitate and even organize ahead of the trade mission in collaboration with Pro-Panama and other partners on the ground. We will include in that trade mission site visits. One of them, of course, will be to the Panama Canal, which I consider one of the wonders of the world. That's a must-see. And so in all of that, we are hoping that at the end of the day, with the site visits, the B2B meetings, the networking, we're ensuring that it is going to help you, the Barbadian companies that are interested, forge meaningful connections with the Panamanian businesses and institutions. So I would say to you, it's not enough to sit and wonder. I would encourage you to join us on this trade mission, to not just explore, but to experience firsthand being in Panama. And I can tell you, having been there, it's worth going. And you have the benefit as part of this webinar to hear firsthand from the Goddards group. They are on the ground and they will be able to tell you how it has been for them. Now, in terms of today's webinar, over the next 2 hours, you'll hear from the experts. You'll hear from, in terms of key insights into the Panama's business environment. You'll hear about the key sector opportunities. You'll also get some insights into the trade and logistics services that exist, and as well as the legal and regulatory requirements that you need to know when doing business with Panama. And as I mentioned earlier, you'll also hear first-hand experience from a Barbadian company that has already ventured into the Panama market and has established a successful operation in that market. So in wrapping up and closing my introductory comments, I just encourage you online participants to fully engage in today's session. There is a Q&A session at the end of the presentations that will allow you to engage with the presenters, to ask freely your questions and have them answered. You have the option, certainly, if you do not wish to come on to verbally pose your questions, you have the option of typing your questions into the chat box on your Zoom control panel, and we'll certainly have them addressed during the Q&A discussion segment. It really now is my pleasure to invite Mrs. Kaye, Miss Kaye Greenidge, CEO of Invest Barbados, just to deliver brief remarks. Now, Kaye and her team have been playing a key role in advancing Barbados' mission to attract foreign direct investment, and with a focus on driving sustainable economic growth and creating opportunities for Barbadian businesses to thrive internationally. Invest Barbados has a very good partnership and collaborative relationship with the Barbados Chamber, as together we promote Brand Barbados. Kaye, over to you.
Yes, and hi, good morning to everyone on the call. As Misha said, I am Kaye Greenidge, the CEO of Invest Barbados. And Misha, as I sat here and I listened to your opening remarks, which allowed me not to have to give much after you spoke, right? So thank you very much. And that I heard words like partnerships, I heard words like opportunity, I heard words like collaboration. And these are all very strong and words that we live by, and the reasons why that you see the team here from Barbados Chamber of Commerce, Invest Barbados, BTMI, Export Barbados, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, have all come together to support this trade mission into Panama, as well as our counterparts from Panama in terms of Pro-Panama and the chambers there. we as entities, certainly from Invest Barbados, which is our mandate to promote Barbados as an investment destination, create and do these missions and collaborate and foster relationships with these missions and encourage business persons like yourself to join us on these missions, because we are here to open doors. And open doors that allow for partnerships back and forth, whether you have Panama businesses operating in Barbados, whether you have Barbadian businesses operating in Panama, or a partnership of businesses operating in both places. But to open those doors and place the opportunities and the possibilities at your fingertips, more so on your flight plan, that you can then go and seek and investigate and look for that next partnership in terms to expand your business both in Panama and from Panama side to Barbados. A wise man once told me, you cannot sell Barbados from Chalky Mount. You cannot form partnerships. You cannot have collaboration. You cannot expand your business from just sitting in Barbados and hoping for the best. And the same thing for Panama, from just sitting in Panama and hoping for the best. And this is why countries like us and entities like us come together to create the platform and the environment for doing business. From an Invest Barbados side, we are very excited to support this mission. We think that there are numerous opportunities in Panama. And from the Panamanian side, once we take down our businesses and our expertise, go down there to have conversations with your businesses there, they will see there are lots of opportunities also on the Barbados side. And there are a lot more synergies than we may think between the two countries, because as Misha rightfully said, and we all know the history, a lot of Barbadians went to Panama to assist in the Panama Canal and stayed in Panama. I went to Panama for all of one day, very quick 24 hours. We know how those missions go. But from sitting there, even where different events that we were invited to or different events we took part in, you can see the blend of the culture and the natural transition from Panama to Barbados and from Barbados to Panama. So I think you would find that even the way of doing business, the way of looking at viewpoints and so on will be very similar. So we're culturally connected and culturally linked. And as Misha rightfully said, Panama is a commercial hub. It is the place where there's lots of commercial activity, lots going on in terms of business and so on. And I think one of the natural places for us to reach into to have that collaboration and partnerships. So with that being said, I really hope that those on the call will join the mission to Panama in October, and will also encourage others to come and join the mission to Panama in October as we collaborate and try to form and create opportunities for two of our countries. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kaye. It really is now my pleasure to invite Ambassador Aron Walcott, and he is Barbados' representative to the Republic of Panama. Aron, indulge me. I know, let me say officially, Ambassador Walcott really has been playing a pivotal role in the ongoing efforts to strengthen diplomatic and economic ties between both countries. And he has been providing support to ensure the growth of bilateral relations. And I really just wanted to say as well that I can personally attest to that, because the Barbados Chamber, myself and the President, Mr. James Clark, we were in Panama in February of this year, and Aron, Ambassador Walker was instrumental in facilitating my meeting with Pro Panama and with other key stakeholders while we were on the ground. He just made things happen. A phone call one morning, and by the evening, we were having meetings with key stakeholders on the ground. And that resulted certainly in the solidifying of an MOU that the chamber now has with Pro Panama and where we are now. So I really just wanted to acknowledge you, Ambassador Walcott, and to welcome you this morning. Thank you for being part of this webinar and for availing yourself to speak to and sharing insights on how we can foster trade relations and expand into the Panama market. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Misha, and thanks for putting this together. Like my colleague Kaye said, I think you did a fantastic job at selling our business community Panama as well. My presentation is going to be a lot more surgical. I'm going to give you some insights into the Barbados mission in Panama. We've now been set up for 5 years, so I'll get right to it to share with you what that mission is. So from the get-go, the Prime Minister said that the primary focus here must be commercial. Of course, all missions we're supposed to make friends and build alliances. The root of our foreign policy, as you know, is friends of all. And Panama has been a friend to Barbados for well over a century. Our people have been coming here from as early as the late 1800s to work on the railroad. And then the big avalanche came around 1906, sorry. We are accredited to 8 Central American countries, all of Central America, Mexico, and Colombia here from Panama. So we are treating this, in addition to being a commercial hub or a diplomatic hub for the region. So when we say accredited, it means that I am the resident ambassador here, but non-resident ambassador to the other 7 countries. So all communications between Barbados and the other 7 countries will be routed through us. We will make official visits or visits to the other countries from here in Panama. And you can see that even before we get into the policy side of it, that represents the tremendous savings just in terms of travel. So that's one of the main, and you're going to hear this word for all of the presentations, you're going to hear this word hub. So we pretty much mirrored the Panamanian space and used it as a strategic hub for our commercial diplomacy. The next thing is that we are building out what we call the Barbados Country Team approach. The Barbados Country Team approach is not new. Perhaps the term was coined under former Foreign Minister Billy Miller in the 1990s. The idea that at a particular mission, you will have a representative from Invest Barbados, either virtually or in local, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for Diplomacy, BTMI, Barbados Tourism Marketing, Inc., as well as Export Barbados. And I will go a little bit more into detail in terms of the Barbados Country Team here. And to re-engage the Barbadian diaspora. That diaspora, as you heard, got here in the late 1800s, including my great-grandfather, including the great-grandfather of the Prime Minister. And I'm sure many of you in the room, if you asked the oldest person in your family, did anyone go to Panama? Because that's why you found out. I asked the matriarch of our family, and she said, yeah, my grandfather went, and I never knew. So I'm sure that if most of you in the room ask the same question to your oldest relative, there is someone, because we're talking about the unofficial numbers, 45 to 60,000 people who came. A lot of them were not even here officially. They just got on boats and came to for the opportunity to work. Another point that I always make is, and this is well researched and documented by our historians, you can speak to Sir Hilary Beckles about this, the money that came back from Panama was transformative for the Barbadian economy. That was the birth of the Black middle class in Barbados. That's when shops were built and others, they were able then to send their children to university, to Oxford, Cambridge, That's when the trade unions came out of that movement. So it really took Barbados from one level to the next. We are re-engaging that diaspora. So you can imagine that we are now down to the fifth and sixth generation. So a lot of them, they have Barbadian last names. We recognize the name Brathwaite, Cumberbatch. They walk up to me every day if they see me with my pin, and they say, "Hey, my grandmother or my great grandmother was from Barbados." Members of parliament. The last assembly had someone whose descendancy was from Barbados. This assembly had someone whose descendancy is from Barbados as well, and they come up to you and say, Ambassador, my great grandmother or my great grandfather was from Barbados. So again, like I said, these are the countries that we are already accredited to, and credentials have been presented to all 8 countries. So we are in business. And we also engage with the Central American Integration System and Par Latino, which is a Caribbean and Latin American parliament. Incidentally, there's a meeting going on now, but I had to be here. Couldn't be 2 places at one time. So this is very important because using Panama as a hub, you have access certainly for easy connection to the rest of these territories. I know that this is Panama focus, but the opportunity is there to reach out to the other territories as well. Interestingly enough, Goddards, when we were planning this, I said to the team, let's get Goddards on board. And I remember going through the region and being at the airport, and I saw a young lady with her Goddards CG shirt on. And I said, you know where that company is from? She said, yeah, Barbados. I said, yeah, I'm from Barbados. And so I was very proud that, a publicly traded company like Goddards is through the region. And you have no idea how that makes you feel. You go into the supermarket and you see our beef product. So, Goddards has opened the door, and you're going to hear a lot more about that as well. So in terms of commercial diplomacy, that's 2 fancy words basically meaning like, get in there and do business. Get in there and work with our business community and create opportunities for us. And as we speak, the former foreign minister called me, and this is an opportunity to run with it. Called me last week, and I intended to bring it up at this meeting. She is trying to sell rum products in India. That's now her consultancy, and she wants to get in contact with the rum producers in Barbados to push that as well. So that's an opportunity there. It means, sending me an email, making that connection so that we can move things as quickly as possible. And the optimum word here is as quickly as possible. Commercial diplomacy is about participation in regional trade shows, working very closely with the business agencies in Barbados, as well as the government agencies. So we work very closely with BTMI, Export Barbados, and Invest Barbados. We have each other on WhatsApp. We're telephone calls away. And as Misha said, we established a very good working relationship with the Chamber and Barbados Manufacturing Association as well. So one of the things that we want to do on the flip side, because diplomacy is always about reciprocity, is to invite Panamanian companies and other companies from throughout the region to participate in, I know it's no longer BMEX, but the equivalent of BMEX, Barbados' biggest trade show as well, because there are opportunities there. In terms of potential investors, these are people who some of them are already in Barbados. So active reinsurance, as we speak, I think next week, they're officially opening their company in Barbados. And they were very well handled by Invest Barbados in terms of, being a one-stop shop to get things done. The Panama Clinic has already set up 2 services companies in Barbados. Evenia Hotels is looking for hotel properties in Barbados. PTF Consulting out of Costa Rica, they have already set up in Barbados. So one of the things that the Prime Minister, and we all know that she thinks in terms of scale to open an embassy, even though the staff may be small, you still need to justify to the Barbadian public the investment in the embassy. I will tell you, we've already paid for ourselves, but we would like obviously a lot more scale. We want to see those export numbers, exports in services. Just get on the plane and come. The same way that those 17-year-old boys jumped in the line and said, you know, I am 23, I want to go to Panama. What's stopping us? And that was a two-week trip on the boat. You know, the flight is 2.5 hours. Come and see and explore. Our colleagues from Pro Panama will give you the more intricate details as to, you know, how it works coming here and setting up a business. So I'm not going to steal their thunder, just focus on the embassy. As we speak, we are interviewing for a commercial officer. Or commercial attaché? That's a local hire. And basically what that commercial attaché will do is to follow up between trade shows. So we know that the government quite often will support our businesses to come to Expo Comer, which is the biggest trade show in the region. But then there's a lull between one trade show in March and the following March. And in all honesty and in all fairness, the government can't keep bringing the same companies over and over and over every year without a breakthrough. That's one. And two, we also understand that we have limited resources, and when the companies go back to Barbados, they have to focus on managing their businesses in Barbados. So this person, this commercial attaché, will fill that gap between trade shows. So that, let's say that you come in with a product and there's an opportunity here, that commercial attaché is responsible for being on the ground, seeking out opportunities, helping you with your follow-ups, being in contact with you, saying, you know, we need this, you need that. So that's that link, and the government is willing to pay for that through Export Barbados. So as we speak, we are doing some interviews for that person, obviously bilingual, and it was recommended that we did a local hire for speed and for the language as well. So going through the existing agreements, there may be a few more, but these are the ones that are in modus right now. We just signed the air services agreement earlier this year when the Prime Minister came with a contingent that included my colleague from Invest Barbados. The cultural cooperation agreement, it was in 2003. And just as a point of note, Panama has since opened its embassy in Barbados with an ambassador, Ambassador Xiomara Perez, and which is very unusual in terms of diplomatic statecraft. The two of us work very closely together. That's very rare, where you have two ambassadors from two different countries actually working closely together. So we speak to each other about 2-3 times per week. We visit each other when we're in each. Ambassador Perez was here last week. She came and, you know, we had breakfast, and she said, you know, Ambassador, let's work on this, let's work on that. But I say that to say that one of the things we want to update is the cultural cooperation agreement. Like anything else, these agreements, they're signed, we have a nice ceremony, but then they need to be actualized or operationalized. So we are in the process also of updating this cultural cooperation agreement. There's a double taxation agreement. Of course, the companies in the financial sector have been taking advantage of the DTA for a while. There are a number of companies that have worked through law firms in Barbados and are aware of this double taxation agreement. So that's very important. In terms of international sister seaports agreement, the Barbados port has an agreement, a sister port agreement with Manzanilla, and they've done some training, they've done some visits, and under the last trip with the Prime Minister, we already have the draft to have a similar system support agreement with our port and Panama Maritime Authority. And this is not, I should say, an agreement between equals. We actually have a lot to learn from the Panama experience. And of course, as Misha alluded to earlier, there's now an MOU between the Barbados Chamber and Pro Panama. Part of Pro Panama's remit, which is very interesting, is to work with the business community and not necessarily with government agencies. Hence the MOU between the Chamber, yourself, and Pro Panama. You'll hear about that as we go on for the rest of the morning. I'm going to wrap up pretty quickly. And then we have ongoing support with UWI and the Barbados Community College through their language programs as well. A senior professor was here a few weeks ago, and we're looking to have 3 MOUs between the top universities here in Panama and UWA for the exchange of professors and students. So the country team, like I said, export Barbados, we're looking for that local hire, the commercial attaché, but Corey Garrett from BTMI is already on the ground with a team. That's the tourism aspect, and they represent all of Latin America from here. And they also have an officer in the Brazilian embassy who will cover that part of South America. And he actually flies into Panama quite frequently. So you can see, just imagine having to do those trips, trade shows, road shows from Barbados to Miami, then to all these different countries, over 30 countries in the region. So much easier, so much easier. So the cost savings, we've already saved the government millions of dollars in travel alone by having the BTMI set up an office here. So together with London, New York, Brussels, Toronto, Panama is now the 4th embassy that has a BTMI agency set up here as well. Engaging the diaspora, we work very closely, like I said, but these members of the diaspora are pretty senior. We have some outreach with the younger generation. A lot of that work is being done with our colleagues at BTMI as well. But there's potential for export there, perhaps not as with other countries, as in the Jamaica experience or even in the Barbadian experience in New York. But there's still familiarity with our products. We should have been here perhaps 50 years earlier at the time of independence when, the diaspora was a little younger. But there's still opportunity there. And regathering is next year, and there are plans afoot to bring a large contingent of Barbadian descendants from Panama to Barbados. So that's a good opportunity for the whole of 2024 to showcase your businesses and your products and services to the Barbadian diaspora that will be returning to Barbados next year. So that's a good linkage there. So in closing, we are in the process of that local hire, and that will help us to build out the country team. I guess at some point in the future, Invest Barbados, once the demand is there, but we do a lot of work collaboratively already. But once the demand is there, we can justify it. They may need to have someone on the ground as well. We can always have more coordination between the mission and Chamber of Commerce. And it doesn't necessarily have to be formalized, but we can have regular meetings, and that can always be improved upon. More coordination and information sharing in the hemispheric group as well. So when I say hemispheric, by virtue or by dint of our very location, most of our missions are in the Americas. So when you include the OAS in Washington, we are in Cuba, Brazil, Venezuela, and Panama. So out of 20 missions that we now have, which is an impressive diplomatic footprint for such a small country, 5 of our missions, when you include the OAS, and if you were to include then our special envoy to Guyana and Suriname, you can see how impressive that group is. So we have an ad hoc group where we exchange information about what's going on in each other's jurisdiction. More direct channels of communication as well with our business people. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone and reach out to the embassy. Even if there will be a future ambassador. I'm not here forever, but all of our information is online on our website, very transparent. We have a LinkedIn page, we have a Facebook page. You can find us on Google Maps as well. Reach out to the ambassador and say, or the trade officer, hey, I'm interested in doing business in Panama. And I've had a number of those calls since the economies reopened post-COVID. People will call and say, Ian, I'm looking for this product. Can you connect me with this? And we make the connections, we make the calls. That's what commercial diplomacy is all about. And of course, I know that we are tight for resources, human resources as well, but more policy and more research is that's always needed. And urgent facilitation of trade missions to the region, both from our end and from your end. So that's it in a nutshell. I now hand back to Misha, the chair, and I'll be here for the entire session for questions at the end. And you can also put questions in the chat, and I will be happy to respond to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Walcott. I think you really did hit some key points. I will only address the point you mentioned with respect to the chamber facilitating a little bit greater collaboration or coordination between the chamber and the mission, and just wanted to affirm our commitment that we already have started a very good working partnership, and we will continue to strengthen that collaboration with yourself and the mission as well. Thank you once again. In March of this year, I mentioned earlier that the Chamber signed an MOU with Panama, Panama's Export and Investment Promotion Agency, affirming a commitment to work together to foster greater bilateral trade and economic ties between our respective countries. This upcoming trade mission is a direct deliverable from that the MOU and the agreed areas of cooperation between BCCI and Panama. And therefore, it really is my pleasure to welcome Stephanie Pragnell, Unit Coordinator in Stephanie Pragnell Molfino. My apologies, Stephanie. Unit Coordinator for Investments at Panama, and she'll provide insights into Panama's market and the opportunities in Panama that can be unlocked by Barbadian businesses. Stephanie, indulge me just a moment. It was remiss of me, and I should have done that after thanking Ambassador Walcott, to recognize online participating in this webinar the President of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce, Mr. James Jimmy Clark. Welcome, Mr. President, as well as Xiomara Perez, Panama's appointed ambassador to Barbados. And I'd also like to welcome Senora Yil Otero. And I understand that, I really hope I got that, the last name pronounced properly. No, Yil is Secretary General for Panama, but I knew Jill in another, when she wore another hat earlier this year as the Vice Minister with responsibility in the Ministry of Trade in Panama. I just wanted to specially recognize these special persons that have joined this webinar. And we hope to have an opportunity sometime in the program to hear briefly or get a hello from Senora Perez. Over to you now, Stephanie.
Thank you very much. Let's see if we can go ahead and I can share my screen. There might not be sound on some of my slides, but maybe we'll be able to get the gist on most of them. Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much for having me and for having Pro Panama. It's so great to see this reciprocity in terms of opening up of embassies and, of course, of having missions in both ways. And hopefully this is something that can continue. Let's see. If you forgive me 1 second, maybe I can get the sound to work. Okay. Maybe not. All right, continue. The visual should be interesting. Give some of the folks that will be coming an idea of what they might get to see.
Stephanie, I think you can move your slides, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to get started on some of your basic information on Panama, we are a relatively small country in Central America, 4.2 million people. We have a GDP per capita that's quite relatively high. So you've got some folks in our country that are quite willing to pay premium on some quality products. I'm sure there are quite a few Barbadian products that they would be interesting to purchase. There is a total unemployment is low, relatively low. We have a workforce of about 2 million people. And of course, then there's a GDP growth that has been consistently high year over year, which has been quite notable as we've been regionally a leader in that respect. We use the US dollar, so our inflation is also relatively low. To get a bit technical with a bit about who we are in terms of our economy, the blue bars have to do with services. So it gives you an idea of just how service oriented our economy is in terms of trade, in terms of real estate, in terms of transport, finance, and other sectors. And if we go on to why Panama, or some of the few things that make Panama unique, is that while we are quite small, we're quite mighty because of what I suppose you would call a coincidence or an accident of nature, which makes us the skinniest part of the entire continent that we've known how to take advantage of throughout the years, not just starting with the canal, of course, but with the railroad and even before that. We have our logistics platform that's built around that. We are quite well known for the quality of our healthcare, of our standard of life, for our legal stability, our economic and social stability, our commercial openness, the kind of open doors policy in terms of commerce and businesses establishing themselves in Panama, in terms of our safety as well. We are also quite highly ranked in terms of some of these metrics, international indexes and metrics having to do with our financial system, our openness for business. We're one of the most efficient places in Latin America to start a business, and we are number one in terms of logistics infrastructure and liner shipping connectivity. As a reflection of that, I'll talk a little bit about what it's like to open a business in Panama. It's relatively simple. It takes quite a few steps. Obviously, it depends on what you will be doing If what you're coming to do in Panama has to do with distribution of products, and you decide that you would like to do it yourself instead of through an intermediary, and if obviously the steps would also be different depending on whether you establish yourself in the free zone or one of the free zone of Colon or another one of the free zones. You would need to first choose what your business structure would be, which would be a corporation or what we call an anonymous society, Sociedad Anónima, a limited liability company, or establish yourself as a foreign branch. So one great thing about Panama is that in most cases, depending on with only a few exceptions in terms of business activity, the rights for ownership or the business owner, whether you're international or local, or if you are a local company or a company established outside of Panama, you have the same rights and responsibilities. Next, of course, would be registering your company name, drafting and notarizing your articles of incorporation, registering with the public registry, and then, of course, one of the most important steps, which is one of the easiest, is getting your business license or aviso de operación, which is an online process. A lot of these steps, I would have to be, if you are either not in Panama or you decide that you want to work function as a foreign branch, you would need to work a lot of this through a lawyer that is authorized to operate in Panama. The next, of course, would be if you're a company that has employees, you need to register for Social Security. You have to obtain necessary permits, especially if it's products having to do with chemicals or foods. And of course, open a bank account. A lot of these steps there are consulting companies that can help you do this, along with, of course, law firms that specialize in assistance of foreign companies establishing themselves in Panama. We, of course, recommend getting a real estate broker so you can figure out just where to establish yourself. Find a way to also get in touch with your local community, your local embassy. They will be able to make recommendations on who to talk to, especially if you don't speak Spanish, who can support you in the process of establishing a business in Panama. Some of the ways that Panama supports its business community, especially when it comes to international business, which is something that Panama specializes in, because, of course, we're a small community, a small country that focuses outside of itself in order to do its business. It's business because it's about services, international services, facilitating commerce, facilitating the movement of goods and services around the region and around the world. One of those ways is through our very robust banking and financial sector. So we have 63 different banks in operation from 21 different countries. If your bank is not in that list of 63 banks, I am sure that there is one of those banks. One of those banks works with a bank that you work with. And surely there's some a connection there. We have been ranked in terms of the soundness of our banks. We have an investment grade as a country, and even during the pandemic, the total assets that were in our banks did not lower. Another way that we are connected, of course, is through sea, air, and digital. Here is a graphical representation of just how Panama is somehow, like we like to say, the center of the world, the heart of the universe, because we essentially, since we're just so slender, we're just an easy way for submarine fiber optic cables to cross or at least touch on its way of sending information around the continents and around the world. Obviously, we facilitate shortening distances between the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, between Asia and the rest of the world. And of course, we are the hub of the Americas that my colleague Aisha will go into later on. There are other ways to connect, which are diplomatic or where it comes to trade agreements. Panama has 23 trade agreements with 59 countries. That means that Panama has negotiated favorable treatment for its preferential treatment for its products around the world, mostly with its neighbors, but also with some far-flung countries such as South Korea, Singapore, Israel, that would give companies from the region or the world special access to these markets if they operate or have part of their production in Panama. A lot of this has to do with, obviously, I'm talking about what the benefits are of Panama, but it's also a lot about what the ethos is and what we feel we offer to the world. Where we think that companies coming from around the world will find a success or a support in their success by establishing themselves in Panama. And when we talk about logistics, of course, we talk about how it's part of our DNA and it's part of our culture. And a lot of that started with something that people from Barbados assisted us quite personally with, which is the construction of the canal. Around the canal, however, is built a what you would call a very robust port system and multimodal system of transport. The logistics cluster that is around the Panama Canal represents about 30% of our GDP, just to give you an idea of just how important it is to us, and how we've been able to leverage it through the construction of a system of ports, airports, and free zones, processing zones, and packaging and distribution zones that essentially connect, that help companies connect to their customers in a much faster, more efficient way. I won't go into everything that's on this slide. I know it's a lot of information, but just to give you an example about what the resources that Panama has in terms of its logistics platform, in terms of the Panama Canal's maritime routes, the amount of shipping lines that operate in Panama, how our ports are some of the top in all of Latin America, and just how many transits and how much we represent in terms of maritime trade. This slide I will go through quickly. It's another video. Here we talk about how we are ranked. UNCTAD places Panama as the best connected country in the world, and the LPI index, Logistics Performance Index, places us in number 4 in terms of the America. When it comes to Panama, here we have on screen what Panama's relevance is per country in terms of what we represent in terms of their maritime trade. So, for example, 25.5% of Chile's maritime trade crosses Panama and goes through Panama in some way. How can you take advantage of Panama? Why Panama would be a great place to do business is because we are a center for nearshoring. And here is a representation of how long it would take to get your product from Panama by sea through all these to all these different locations. I'll place on screen some studies that have been made about Panama and just over the years that might be useful for you if you're thinking about Panama in terms of its logistics, a logistics center. And so setting up a distribution and logistics center in Panama results in better lead times, results in regulatory compliance and efficient inventory management, especially since Panama is very good at handling something called LCL, which is less than a container load. This means that even smaller portions of cargo can be handled quite efficiently through Panama. And reshaping your network through Panama, for example, has the Georgia Tech Panama has done a few studies about what kind of savings certain companies, obviously anonymous, would have by operating through Panama. We're talking about outbound lead time reductions in 89%, inventory savings of 6.5%, hub to market lead times within 2.5 hours. These are numbers that for a logistics company would be very important. So how can you set yourself up in Panama? Well, Panama incentivizes different business activities in different sectors by setting up different investment regimes. I'll go more into trade zones, because I think that those might be interesting to you all, but I mentioned a few others that could be interesting. One of them is the Panama Film Commission. We try to encourage with rebates on purchases made in Panama for audiovisual and film productions. We have a city of knowledge. So if you have startups or companies doing investigation, education, that would be a great place to set up with all kinds of incentives having to do with tax, migratory incentives. If you are a multinational or company that qualifies as a multinational, you can set up offices here for all kinds of administrative services. That would be the MHQ or SEM system. And Panama Pacifico, which you might have heard of, and I believe we might get to see, which is one of a special economic regime that is essentially kind of an all-in-one platform where you have residential areas, green areas, along with a thriving business community and single window services for everything from immigration for your employees to single windows for tax, et cetera. Essentially, it's kind of they hold your hand through the whole process of working in Panama. Going into the free zone, this is more for manufacturing, assembly, processing, distribution, and services. So, for example, if you are a company that engages in environmental health, education, high-tech services, research centers, a free zone might be a great place for you. And they provide incentives such as exemptions from income tax, a lot greater ease to bring your workers into Panama, especially trusted workers, technicians, management. There's much more flexibility in terms of labor. And of course, if you are part of a whole productive cluster in a free zone, you get certain tax benefits from working with each other. So there's free zones of all kinds right now. So, for example, the maritime investor, Zona Franca Las Americas, some of them have to do with, there's more than 20 at this point. So some of them have to do with technology. Some of them have to do with fisheries. Some of them have to do with beverage making, processing, and packaging. So essentially, some of them have to do with hydrocarbons and petroleum products, and they all cluster together to work together. Other sectors that I wanted to mention is Panama and its efforts to become a food hub for the Americas. And I know Panama would be a great place for Barbados to purchase some of its food economically. And it's also, we have incentives for food production through agro-parks. And I think that especially when it comes, if you're looking to produce in a larger scale than you can in Barbados, you might benefit from coming to Panama and ensuring the supply for some of the products you consume at home by working with Panama and producing them here. taking advantage of some of these fiscal incentives and some of the land that is being set aside for those kinds of projects. This is something that Panama is trying to do because we have a great deal of people that live in the interior and that live through agriculture, but that represent, if you recall one of the first slides, agriculture represents only 2% of our GDP. So there's a disparity there that we would like to help solve, and maybe one of those things is either through our supply chain or through some of these incentives that we have for agriculture to boost up our agricultural sector. When it comes to energy, that is something else that we are working on, especially when it comes to sustainable energy. Panama has the largest wind farm in Central America and the Caribbean. We're a natural gas hub. Our energy matrix is made up mostly of sustainable energy. Panama is always looking for opportunities in terms of energy, and I know that that's something that Barbados might be interested in looking into as well. We're always looking for sustainable energy projects. And this video there's not going to have sound, but just pay attention to the video. At least I think it's got some interesting. It'll give you an idea of what Panama is in terms of its flair. Tourism, which is a specialty of yours and something that we need to exploit as well. And I think that Panama would really benefit from some exchange and some expertise from Barbados in terms of your tourism investment is here in Panama. In particular, what we aim to do, which is sustainable tourism. We've invested in our, not just our airport terminal, our cruise terminals. We would love to focus on things like medical tourism, sports tourism, gastronomy. I think that there's a wealth of potential that Panama has that companies in tourism in Barbados with that kind of expertise, I think might find some great opportunities. I will leave you with, that here. As you can imagine, it's hard to encapsulate a whole country in just a small presentation. In the next slide, you'll get a QR code and a link to our webpage. I am, of course, more than happy to help answer any questions or give support. And thank you so much for your interest in Panama, for coming into Panama, and for the chance to speak with you today. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, for the wealth of information you shared. I think it was really a comprehensive presentation. Please let us know if it is something that we could share with the participants who are online. Once we have your permission, we'll certainly share it. Absolutely. With them so that they can have the benefit of the knowledge that you have. I think your presentation really did underscore what we have been saying, that Panama is indeed a commercial hub, but even more so a strategic gateway into, well, I did say earlier in my presentation, into Central America and South America, but no, I think from what you said, it is the center of the world. So let me correct myself there and say it is a gateway to anywhere in the world, correct?
Absolutely. I think Panama can be okay, I'll put it this way. Talk to us to see how we can help Panama be a key component of your success. Yes. And your expansion to the world.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Stephanie. And we look forward to engaging with you during the upcoming trade mission. So it is now my pleasure to invite Miss Aisha Lewis, another key partner that we have been engaging as part of the arrangements for the upcoming trade mission. Now, COPA Airlines is one of Panama's key players in the aviation industry, and the airlines has been instrumental in enhancing Panama's connectivity to Barbados and the rest of the region, and let me see, the rest of and beyond. So their role has been to not just facilitate passenger air transport, but certainly commercial cargo, and definitely has helped to cement Panama's position as a critical logistics hub in the region. And so we'll hear from Aisha with this, sharing with us a little bit more in terms of what COPA has to offer. Over to you, Aisha.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lobban-Clarke. And good morning to everyone. Just allow me to share my screen. Can you all let me know if you all are able to see my screen?
Yes.
Are you all hearing me well? The rain has come down really heavy across here, so I'm just wondering.
Hearing you well, Aisha.
All right then, no problem. Thank you. So I just want to say thank you again this morning, and we want to thank you for the opportunity to be here with the Barbados Chamber of Commerce ahead of the mission that we are having from the 16th to the 20th of October. Right, so just to touch on it, you know that Panama, as we have heard numerous times this morning, is actually the hub of the Americas, one, and also the connectivity point, not only to Central America, South America, or North America, it's the entire world, because we have like interline agreements with a number of airlines, which allows you to connect even further than the Americas. In terms of our business model, the main thing is our strategic location, which is Panama. And this allows you to connect North America, South America, and the Caribbean as well. In terms of our fleet, we have Boeing 700s, 800s, and MAX 9s as well. We are known for being one of the most punctual airlines in not only Latin America, but in the world as well. And of course, the hub of the Americas. In terms of the hub of the Americas, we would have at the second half of 2021, we would have opened our Terminal 2, which is very modern side of the airport. We have modern boarding gates, a lot of duty-free shopping, and operational efficiency in terms of connection. One of the main things in terms of us and the hub of the Americas is that connecting via Panama is very seamless. I know Ambassador Walcott would have mentioned, it's not like you have to go Miami and come down or anything to connect. But in terms of connection via Panama, you are able to, when you check in at the airport, let's say you're going from Barbados and let's say you're going beyond to another country in Latin America, when you reach Panama, it's just a connection. You don't have to ever clear customs and immigration, and you don't have to collect your bags or so forth. So it's a very easy transition in terms of connecting via Panama. In terms of our network is 85 destinations in 32 countries. So not only are we going to Panama, but from Panama, you're able to connect onwards to 85 destinations in 32 countries, and of course, connecting in a lot of countries in Latin America. Barbados and Panama. In terms of our operations in Barbados, our operations first commenced in 2018, right, where we started with 2 flights. It would have ceased during the pandemic, and then we have restarted operations in June of 2022, where we would have increased flights. right? As we see, Barbados is a very important market as you all continue to expand, especially like this opportunity to get into Panama and the other markets, we would have worked closely with some of to actually increase the frequency. So we would have restarted in June 2022 with 2 flights. Then in July of 2023, we'd have increased to 3 flights, and we are continuously monitoring the growth. And I'm happy to announce that as of the 1st of 2024, we would have increased to 4 flights. So we currently have 4 flights. And as you can see, it's an easy like 2.5 hours to get across from Barbados to Panama, and of course onwards. Just to highlight in terms of the connections, so we would have mentioned not only Panama, but also Latin America. So just to highlight a few of the countries in Latin America, in terms of destination Brazil, we actually fly to 7 cities in Brazil. In Mexico, we fly to six cities in Mexico. And in Colombia, we do 11 cities in Colombia as well as, of course, Central America and the rest of Latin America. So just to let you know that our network is we have a very large network, and you're able to connect you to all of these Latin American countries. Understand that you all are business people and you're traveling for business. And of course, you're on the go, and sometimes you may need to conduct a little business meeting while you're on the go, right? So for this, you have the opportunity to use our COPA club. We have a COPA club where you have internet access, you can get meals, etc. Right? So we have a day pass for the COPA club, as well as for all business class passengers. Once you have a business class boarding pass, you can get free access to the COPA club. So that's definitely something you can take into consideration when you have, let's say, a long layover. You have like a meeting and you need to have a small safe area also that you can have your meeting without a lot of noise or anything like that. Also to mention that we have one of our services and programs that we have is our corporate program, which by caters to all our passenger needs. And you have the opportunity, especially if you're looking to get into Panama and other markets and you're going to be traveling very frequent, and persons within your business are going to be traveling very frequent. You have the opportunity to explore our corporate program, whereby you can get like upfront discounts on your tickets. So I would have just briefly touched on our passenger side, but as Ms. Lobban-Clarke would have mentioned, I don't know if everybody knows, but a lot of you should know by now, is that COPA also offers cargo services, right? So our cargo services are also offered on our passenger operation. So the 85 destinations that we do service, we have the ability to provide cargo to these destinations, right? In terms of the amount of the capabilities for the passenger operation on the regular flights, it ranges from 2 tons to 4.5 tons, depending on the aircraft. As I mentioned before, we also have a dedicated freighter, which carries strictly cargo, right? So this dedicated freighter it holds up to 22 tons, and it operates to these 11 cities as of now. Barbados is not one that the freighter comes to at the moment, but once there's demand and so forth, it's something that they will examine to see if there's an opportunity to possibly do like a Panama, Port of Spain, Barbados, back to Panama. So it's definitely something that we can keep in mind for later on. In terms of the type of products that we can handle for our cargo, we can handle basically everything. In terms of, I know we'd have mentioned, Ms. Pragnell would have mentioned in terms of agriculture and fresh produce. That is definitely something that COPA can handle in terms of cargo. We do handle and move fresh produce. We do agriculture, pets, valuables, farmer. Farmer is a very important one because we have the facility for temperature control, whereby your perishable goods will be in good condition when it arrives because we have the temperature control. Note, as we are talking about Panama and being the hub of the Americas, just as before and with the passengers, we also have one of the big things that makes us able to connect throughout the network and throughout the world, not only Latin America, is our interline agreements. We have interline agreements with a number of airlines, which will connect you to over 90 countries in 336 destinations. So in terms of connectivity, and the logistics of transporting your goods and doing that, we definitely have the capability to facilitate such. I'll just share my contact information here. Of course, in case you have any questions afterwards, you could always reach out to myself. And I also have the contact information for my colleague in Panama who deals with cargo. So in conclusion, I just want to say that Panama, of course, is a very strategic location. And we know the importance that we play in terms of connecting Barbados to Panama and beyond. And Panama is not only sea, but of course, because of the Panama Canal, you have that land and sea and air transport that makes it a very special and unique country that able to connect us all to everywhere. So I just want to say, as you continue to expand your business and work towards developing this trade and industry in terms of Panama and Latin America, that I welcome you to keep COPA Airlines top of mind. And I look forward to working with you all and seeing the progress of Barbados and the Chamber of Commerce and this excellent opportunity and mission that you all are undertaking. Thank you. I'll pass it back to Ms. Lobban-Clarke.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Thank you. I lost connectivity earlier, so I was just making sure that I'm on. At this time, I wanted to invite someone representing the Colon Free Zone. And interestingly, when Stephanie made her presentation, I was enlightened to know that there's over 20 free trade zones in Panama. We have the privilege of hearing from about one that I know Barbadian businesses would have an interest in getting a greater insights. The Colon Free Zone is one of the largest and most important free trade zones in the world, not just in Panama. And we have the pleasure of hearing from Krystal Demera, and she's the investment promoter for the Colon Free Zone. The Free Zone she'll be able to share her insights on how the Free Zone operates as a commercial hub for global trade and logistics. And we can't talk about trade if we can't talk about trade and logistics. So we certainly welcome you, Ms. Demera, to make your presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Misha. Let me see if I can share my screen here. As you mentioned, we are one of the many free trade zones in Panama, but one of the oldest and with more experience. We started in June 1948. We have more than 75 years doing business. Second. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, as I mentioned, we started on June 17, 1948. Back then, we started with 10 companies. Now in 2024, we have more than 2,604 cooperations here in the free zone. We have 1,064 hectares of land for eases of warehousing and showroom. And we also are the largest free trade zone of the American continent. Because of our geographical position, we connect with different parts of the world. We have 180 maritime routes, 170 countries users, 1,920 connected ports, and as Stephanie mentioned, we have a meeting point for 8 fiber optic cables. This is an aerial view of our coast, the Atlantic and the Pacific. Colon Free Zone is located on the Atlantic side. We have 5 world-class container ports and 3 are located in the Atlantic. We have the Krystal, the Manzanillo, and Colon Container Terminal. You can see the proximity that they have to the Colon Free Zone. Then we have a regional airport called Enrique Adolfo Jimenez. On the Pacific side, we have another 4. We have 2 regional airports and 2 international airports. We also have other 2 ports, and we also have Panama Pacifico. That's another free trade zone. Then the colored lines that you guys see here, the green one is the Trans-Smithnian Highway. That's the old road. Then the freeway, the Alberto Mota, is the purple one. The orange one is the Panama Railroad Company. And the blue one is the Panama Canal. These lines are ways that the merchandise goes from one extreme of Panama to the other. And because also of the Panama Canal. We have the smallest one on the bottom called the Pan American Highway that connects with Central America. It starts in Puebla, Mexico, and ends here in Panama, and it goes vice versa. Why invest in the Column Free Zone? What makes this attractive? We have a privileged geographical position. We have a close proximity to the Panama Canal, about 10 minutes. We have the largest merchant fleet in the world. As he mentioned, we have 5 world-class container ports and over 2,600 corporations. We have a digitized surveillance system. We have also global cargo companies that provide services in less than 24 hours. We have a unique window of proceedings to facilitate and make efficient any type of formalities. We have the 0% tax on imports and 0% tax on re-export products. And we also have the dollar as a current currency. We have more than 20 international and national banks established in the Column Free Zone. This is all the permitted activities for all type of merchandise except for weapons. You can introduce, you can stock, repack, fraction it, mix, exhibit, brew. This is a lot that was modified on April 8th of 2016. We have 2 ways of establishing operations here in the Column Free Zone. The first one is self-operated businesses, and then we have outsourcing. The e-commerce is a benefit that we give the self-operated businesses and the outsourcing companies to sell online through a platform called Bridge Market, an Amazon type of platform where all the merchandise, you can display it, and then people from outside can buy all the merchandise in bulk or by minimum. So the self-operated businesses are the businesses that are physically established in the area. They have their showrooms, they have their warehousing. Then we have the outsourcing that have the self-operated businesses distribute, sell, re-export their merchandise. Here we're going to be able to see the cost for self-operated businesses. It's a little bit more than the others because you are physically established in the Column Free Zone. You have to make a down payment. You have to pay for an operation permit and also for an operation key. And then the services on the bottom, it depends on the meter square of your establishment. You have to pay for garbage collection and security. And then the electronic commercial movement declaration is an online form that you have to fill every time a container enters, leaves, or trespasses to another company. You make a deposit of $300, and then every time that those transactions are made, you will be deducted $15 for every container. Then here we're going to see the outsourcing companies. You have to pay only the operation permit since you're not physically established. And then also the electronic commercial movement declaration. Then we're going to be able to see here the e-commerce, the bonus. You only have to pay for the operation key. That is $2,500 as an annual payment. Here we're going to see main tariff groups according to imports, mostly from January to June of 2024, mostly every import that has entered the Column Free Zone comes from USA. Then we have China, Belgium, Singapore, Mexico, Japan, and then others. In others, you have Barbados. Mostly all of the imports that comes from Barbados are rum, liquors, cigarettes. Then we're going to be able to see here on re-exports from January to June of 2023. We have Venezuela as one of our main buyers. We have Costa Rica. We also have Panama as a country. We have Guatemala, Colombia, Honduras, Salvador, and then others. Here we're going to be able to see main tariff groups. Raw material for pharmaceuticals. The raw material comes in mostly from outsourcing companies, and then they distribute, they change labels, and then they re-export. We also have the finished product, medicines, electronics, clothing, and then alcoholic beverages, vehicles, motorcycles, and parts as the last one. In the same order of demand, we have for re-exports, medicines, electronic machines, appliances, clothing. The last one is cars, motorcycles, and parts. That is from 2024, from January to June of this year. These is the activities registered from 2022 to 2023. As you can see, in 2022, we were almost ending up the pandemic. So our imports and re-exports weren't that high, but for 2023, we did get a better number, and we expect that this year it improves. So the advantages of the column-free zone for re-exporters: we have a high visibility of products, an extensive know-how and know-who of the regional markets, proven track record of international trade, and the proximity to the buyers because of the Panama Canal. The success formula: products close to intended markets, faster delivery times, better reaction to market conditions. The payments are more efficient because we have a range of international and national banks, convenient supply chains for small and medium buyers, and the optimal connection to the American countries. These are multinational brands that we all know. Most of them, we all use them. Pharmaceuticals, Nike, Coca-Cola, New Balance. Most of them are physically established in the area. Most of them aren't, but still use the column-free zone as their trampoline, as their hub. That will be everything. If you guys have any questions, I'm here. I want to thank Panama and also the Barbados Chamber of Commerce on behalf of our general manager, Ms. Luisa. We hope that this Zoom brings a fruitful benefit for both Panama and Barbados.
Thank you very much, Krystal, for that very comprehensive presentation on the column-free zone. We really do look forward to an opportunity when the delegation from Barbados is on the ground in October to be able to visit the column-free zone. And I really would like to say a special thanks to Jill Otero, the Secretary General for Panama, and who previously held the position as Vice Minister for Multilateral Affairs and International Cooperation. I had previously said Ministry of Trade, so I just wanted to correct that. But, you know, in one day, Jill was able to connect us, and thank you for coming on at short notice, but we appreciate you joining us and making the presentation. At this time, I'd like to introduce, having heard all that Panama has to offer, I think nothing beats hearing from someone or an entity that has done it and done it successfully. So it really is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Anthony Ali, Chief Executive Officer for the Goddards Enterprises. And the Goddards is one of Barbados's most established and diversified conglomerates. And now they have a successful operation in Panama. Goddards, they are members of the chamber, and so I really am delighted that when I reached out to Anthony, he was so willing to do this for us. Anthony will provide insights into Goddards' expansion into the Panama market. He will be able to just really speak of how they navigated the market, what strategies they employed to successfully cement their operations there. This is a success story, and I believe there are lessons to to be learned. There will be practical advice that Anthony will be able to provide. He will be supported in this presentation by Aron Noel. Noel, he's actually the general manager for Goddards Central America Cluster, which is based in Panama, and therefore he's on the ground. Aron has been leading an operational team of over 1,400 employees across 6 airports, so they will certainly be able to give you valuable insights. I will now hand over the floor to you, Anthony and Aron.
Great. Thank you very much. Hopefully everybody can hear me.
Yes.
Great. Well, so I'm going to let Aron do most of the talking since he's the guy that's on the ground there, but I'll frame the strategic intent more than anything else and why Panama. First of all, when we look at investing outside of the region, we always try to look at, the risks involved in taking capital and redeploying it in other countries. When we looked at Panama, it's one of those countries where you have very stable growth. Its growth has been 2.2% for the last 4 years. It's been higher than that in terms of its overall average growth. So very stable growth perspectives. From a GDP per capita perspective, it's almost $20,000 per capita. So again, relative to what we consider to be high GDPs within the region, it would be right up there with GDPs at the highest quartile within the Caribbean. So from an overall market perspective and attractiveness, it's right up there. In terms of political stability, again, has been extremely stable over the last 10 to 15 years. So again, from a risk mitigation standpoint, that was important to us. It also trades in US dollars. That's the currency of exchange. So again, allows us to generate foreign exchange that we can repatriate back to Barbados. Those are key things that drive a lot of our decision making. Beyond that, when you think of some of the demographics in terms of the age of the people within the country, again, very attractive demographics there in terms of the middle class and the middle-aged group. I had these statistics someplace, but you basically have a fairly large population that is in the working class, a fairly high or low unemployment rate, and so you have a country that is ripe from a opportunity to invest from both the political and the economical standpoint. Beyond that, we've heard all about the logistics. We've heard all about the connectivity. We've heard about the infrastructure from a digital perspective. On a personal level, I can tell you that, I travel extensively around the world. And if I had to travel through any airport, I would travel through Tucumán Airport. It is the most efficient airport I've ever traveled through. I can actually take a flight, arrive, and walk across the airport and board my next flight. It is that efficient. I've made connections in Tucumán with less than 30 minutes. So from a connectivity to the rest of South America, I think it actually is a fantastic gateway. There's 2 of them. There's Miami and there's Panama. Those are the 2 gateways that we would use typically to connect into Latin America, South America. Beyond that, from a work perspective, fairly diverse number of industries in terms of there's some basic agriculture. There is a lot more manufacturing going on than I had thought when I first went to Panama, and then very, very service oriented. So from a tertiary type of industry perspective, highly, highly efficient. From a banking system, very good banks, very efficient. When we had to set up our bank accounts, it took just a couple of days. And so from an overall ease of doing business, again, I would say Panama is on the high end of that scale. So from a strategic standpoint and being able to enter into the marketplace, it's probably one of the better ones within Latin America. We've had challenges in multiple locations. We've not had too many challenges in Panama. They actually make it easy to do business. So that's it from an overall strategic perspective. The last part of it, I would say, is from the overall footprint of Goddard Enterprises. Today, we operate in 27 countries. Panama was the last one that we got into. We just entered into Panama just over a year and a half ago. It's always been a desire to get into Panama. And now that we have a footprint in Panama, it allows us to look at other opportunities that we're currently exploring for further growth and expansion in that region or in that country specifically. And our experience is it's been very positive. And so we are actively looking at how we could grow our footprint within Panama. Aron, I'm going to hand it over to you to answer some of the more specific questions that Misha and the team had put together for us.
Okay. Morning, everyone. Is one to share with you our experience with the startup of our operation in Panama. We have been in the region for a long time, for quite a few years, and always we're looking to get into the Panama market. We always see Panama as a place that, as we know for a long time, that's a place that's easy to get in. As Stephanie was mentioning, and some other expositors, it's easy to get into Panama. The country is giving you the opportunity to choose the best way to get into the country. Another thing that we always admire of Panama is the people. You always get the good people to support your operation. When we started in Panama in 2022, we started up with 13 restaurants in the Terminal 1. Today, restaurant we opened another food court in the Terminal 2 that will leave us with 24 restaurants that invite all of you to, when you visit the airport, to visit our restaurant. We have 24 restaurants in total, and we feel comfortable with the operation, with the facilities to operate not only into the food and beverage area. Just we need something for the government. It's easy to get the people from the government. Now we can see a growth in Panama that I will share with you our strategy. Since we see a lot of construction, there is will be a third bridge that will be built in Panama that will bring people to come to Panama to visit, to the constructions, a lot of vendors for that project. Also, we have projects from the metro. We are finishing, the country is finishing the third metro that will give us more easy way to connect between the cities. And also part of the project is to connect the city, the Panama City, with the rest of the country through a rail that will be underground. You see, they restarted the construction a few weeks ago. So all of those projects will bring passengers, will bring more business to Panama. So Panama is a good place to go or to invest in 2022. Is now a good place to invest, and also watching what the government and the country is preparing for the future is a good place to be in the next future, in the long, medium term. So one of the things that we want to share is we see our previous experience. We see like the entire country right now is trying to move on. You see a lot of movement. You see a lot of new things coming in. I just yesterday saw that there is a huge beer factory that will be established in Panama. So it's a good moment to invest in Panama. It's not because I'm Panamanian. It's not to see with that. Not to see with that. But I believe one of the best projects that we achieved was to start operation in Panama. We didn't find and even a minimum problem to establish in Panama. Everything was smooth. We didn't elevate to our executive committee any problem. Everything was smooth. We didn't find any problem at all. Well, people, we are very proud how our people is one of the first things that we wanted to see in Panama. We recommend the people of Panama. Actually, we see the path of our company trying to expand our footprint in Panama, as Tony mentioned. We see right now we have only one line of business, which is we call airport dining, but we have more line of business that we want to open in Panama, and we're still looking for that and looking forward to in the short term to open more operations in Panama. So it's basically our testimony, I can say, and a witness of all of what our expositor mentioned before. We right now will enjoy all of the benefits to operate in Panama. So I hope soon we have more presence of our company in Panama. So if anyone has any question, I will be more than glad to answer.
Misha, let me add one or two more comments there that I think are relative for people thinking about investing in Panama. One, from a legal standpoint, again, when you think about investing assets into another country, one of the things everybody should be thinking about is, how safe are those assets relative from a legal perspective? If somebody does something wrong, meaning they don't pay my bill, am I able to pursue them from a legal perspective, or is it going to be tied up in courts for years and years and years? And we know what that's like here back home. The answer to that is they have a very good legal system that's very pro-business and makes it easy for investors, people to pursue any sort of legal mediation that might be required. So again, from a legal perspective and an infrastructure perspective, it's very business conducive. I would also comment that, from an employment standpoint, also very attractive in terms of some of the labor laws. They, like most Latin American countries, are fairly progressive, but have a good balance between employee and employer relationships in terms of the laws and, again, how you deal with those issues. The last comment I'll make, and then I'll be quiet so people can ask questions if they're interested, is the Panama airport has approximately 25.5 million passengers that transit through it. So again, from a exposure of goods and services and everything else, it is one of those airports that is absolutely phenomenal, to get exposure and advertising for products and everything else. And so again, when I'm thinking about Barbadians, thinking about their products, their services, not just in terms of goods that you buy, but in terms of services and or culture, the Panama airport and Panama itself, in terms of the tourism that it attracts from around the world, is a phenomenal place to get high-level exposure to our culture and our products. So with that, I'll turn it back to you, Misha.
Anthony and Aron, thank you so much. As I said earlier, there is just, you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. I have been to Panama, but I think hearing from you, you have underscored what any business person online would want to know. Certainly, as you said, if an investor is thinking about, how do they utilize the capital that they have into any new market, they are going to look at the key things in terms of what the market has to offer. And Panama touches all of them. As you said, it is, it has a pro business. It's a pro business environment. Very in terms of its facilitation services, the ease of doing business. We spoke about connectivity. You've heard through COPA. You've heard from Panama. It is one that allows you the ease of access that any person who is going to make an investment as a business person to expand into any market would want to know, how in terms of the movement of my goods, how is this market accessible? So you spoke about it has the free trade zones, it offers the incentives, and more importantly, I think, Anthony, when you speak about the kind of environment that it has, both on the regulatory side and on the business facilitation side, I think that therefore again underscores why we believe the Panama market is one that we as a chamber would encourage our members to do businesses. And we are talking about businesses both ways. We do know that there are opportunities for Panamanian businesses into Barbados and vice versa. At this time, we would like to wrap up and just give persons an opportunity to ask questions before we close. So the floor is now open to anyone who would like to ask questions from any of our panelists. Any questions? I'm not seeing any. You can just open your mic if you have a question and pose it freely. Not sure if Hallam wants to pose a question or any other member. There is one question from Sasha. Oh, I guess she doesn't want to ask a question. Where is the Panamanian embassy located in Barbados? Ambassador Walcott?
Well, I can answer that, but that's more a question for Ambassador Perez. She's
in Barbados, yes,
right.
yes. Oh.
So I think it's a good opportunity to introduce.
I thought the question was reversed. In fact, I can use this opportunity now to invite Ambassador Perez, because she's on, to join us, and she can speak to that. Okay, so Nathan is asking the exact date of the mission. We have earmarked October 16th to the 21st, and the chamber will certainly be sending you information directly, Nathan, in a few days, with more details in terms of the COPA flights, time, etc., accommodation, all the other information that is relevant. Marvin, are you able to pull in Ambassador Perez just to briefly, for her to briefly say hi and just indicate to persons here online from the local business community who would like to know where the Panama's embassy is?
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, Ambassador Perez, we can hear you.
Okay. Good morning to all. I don't know if you can see me, but it's an honor for me to be here. It's with great enthusiasm. Hold on, join the panelist.
So Ambassador will address us briefly as we wrap up. I know it's been a long morning, and Ambassador?
Were we that thorough that we don't have any questions?
Yeah.
Can you listen to me? Can you see me?
Go ahead, Ambassador. We may not be able to see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. No, I was just thanking Ms. Lobban because you gave me the opportunity to be present in this presentation. It's with great enthusiasm that I greet you all and extend my gratitude to the Chamber of Commerce and to Panama for this webinar. We extend a warm invitation to all the guests to continue building bridges of collaboration that contribute to a better development of both Panama and Barbados. As you know, everything is already said and presented in this presentation, valga la redundancia, we say in Spanish. Panama is situated as at the crossroad of the Americas and holds a strategic logistic that bridges North and South America with the Caribbean and with Barbados. Its position is a transcontinental hub that offers unparalleled connectivity and trade opportunities. The Embassy of Panama is already to showcase our capacity to continue strengthening our ties, introducing stakeholders to our rich cultural heritage, and to foster collaboration. I know that many people are asking where the Panamanian embassy is located. As you and Mr. Clarke know, we are finishing our papers and all the procedures for the signing of the contract of the new embassy in Barbados. It will be located in Hastings and Christchurch. Meanwhile, we are in a Mangerton house in Balmoral Gap, and the telephone number, if you need it, is 255-9343. 255-9343. And the WhatsApp number is plus 507-6614-9414. In case anyone needs to be in contact with us, I also have with me Mr. Bolivar Barrios, who is the Deputy Chief of Mission, and who also could be help if you need any question to be resolved before the trip. I am very happy to know that there are people interested in this mission to Panama. As you know, we are new in Barbados, only 5.5 months, and we are here to help and facilitate all the information that you will need to guide you to the right contacts in Panama. You have seen in all the presentation given today, Panama is the hub of the Americas with a logistic platform, commercial activity, connectivity, and a distribution centers that is at your disposition whenever needed. So we will be looking forward to hearing about the success of this mission, business mission to Panama. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Perez. So there is, I was just about to close, but there is one question in the chat. Marvin, you're okay, I'm seeing it. Daniel, did you want to pose your question live, or do you wish for me to do that for you? Oh, okay. This is someone from Business Barbados, and just interested in further exploring the opportunities between Barbados and Panama. Certainly through the chamber, we will be in touch, Daniel. Let me close by just saying thank you very much to our presenters for your informative and insightful presentations. Thank you for assisting the chamber to inform our participants about the numerous opportunities that exist, focusing on the existing connectivity and the what Panama has to offer in terms of your business growth. I really want to close as well, just to thank once again Pro Panama particularly our partners, Pro Panama, the Embassy of Barbados in Panama, Invest Barbados, Export Barbados, BTMI, COPA, Airlines, Goddards Enterprises, and all our other partners for your support in making this webinar a success. Thank you for your contribution and thank you for your participation as well. Thanks to you, our online participants, and we look forward to you embarking with us on this journey as we seek to foster greater bilateral trade relations and strengthen our economic and cultural linkages between Barbados and Panama. The Barbados Chamber, our trade officer, will be in touch with you to answer your questions about the trade mission, the upcoming trade mission, and to also engage you with you in terms of any additional information that you need to know about Panama. Now, again, let me reiterate, the trade mission is planned for October 16th to the 21st. Our agenda includes a trade forum, a business-to-business meetings, networking. We have, and hopefully, with COPA's permission and the colon-free zone, we intend to. We've already initiated discussions in terms of being able to tour the commercial operations for COPA and the colon-free zone. These are some of the major logistic and trade hub that we think you as a Barbadian business would want to see firsthand. And so we are here to just make that happen. So once again, thank you very much, and we look forward to engaging with you more. Thank you for your participation, and we wish you, on behalf of the Barbados Chamber, a good afternoon.